That playoff loss is still sitting in the back of your mind, isn't it? Because the moment you say wild card, you can still see it. The offense stalling, the pocket collapsing, and Justin Herbert grinding through it with a fractured left hand while the Patriots kept crashing down on him. That game left a mark. But what's happened since? That's where the clues start showing up. 4 different signals about where this team is headed in 2026. There's a defender who flashed in the middle of the chaos and now has money decisions attached to him. There's a hard lesson on the offensive line that can't be ignored anymore. There's talk being floated about a star pass catcher that would split the Bolt fam right down the middle. And there's a contract the Chargers just handed out that quietly tells you how the front office wants to win. And I'll tell you right now, the most insane part of this whole puzzle isn't one move by itself. It's how all of it connects. Stick with me to the end, because that's where it clicks. Here's the thing. Some players get swallowed by a loss. Others are born inside it. And I'm not talking about some cheesy, "we'll learn from this" locker room quote. I'm talking about survival on the field. While Herbert was getting hit and dragged down, 6 sacks, no real run game to lean on outside of a few Herbert scrambles, there was one Charger on defense playing like the scoreboard didn't matter. Henley was flying. Hair on fire, downhill, fast to diagnose, and aggressive at the catch point. He was everywhere. Tackles stacking up, showing up in coverage, making the kind of plays that make you pause and go, wait, is this guy turning into a centerpiece right in front of us? Then you get the kind of recognition that forces people to pay attention. Pro Football Focus put Henley on their 2025 All-Playoff team, giving him one of the 2 linebacker spots. They graded him at 81.0 overall for that performance, and they highlighted what he did against New England. 11 total tackles, 3 defensive stops, a pressure, and an interception. They even pointed out the coverage grade and run defense grade numbers that backed it up. And it's not like the Chargers had a bunch of guys on that list. Henley was the one name that made it. Now zoom out for a second, because this is where the urgency kicks in. Henley is walking into 2026 in the final year of his rookie deal. That's not a fun trivia note, that's a ticking clock. Every snap he plays now has contract pressure attached to it. Every big game pushes him closer to a long-term payday. And the Chargers have to decide, do you get out in front of it now, or do you risk watching the price explode and dealing with it later? Be honest, what would you do if you're in that building? Because the numbers aren't a fluke. Henley was a 3rd-round pick in 2023, mostly special teams early, then he stepped into a starting role and broke out. In 2024, he stacked 147 tackles with a sack, an interception, and 8 passes defended. In 2025, he followed it up with another strong year. 103 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 2 picks, 5 passes defended. In that playoff loss, he led the defense with 13 tackles. That's not a random hot streak. That's a player with a real arrow pointing up. And part of why it's so intriguing is his background. He started college at Nevada as a wide receiver, then switched to defense and immediately produced. Over 100 tackles and multiple interceptions, earned all Mountain West honors, then transferred to Washington State and became first-team All-Pac-12 with 106 tackles, 4 sacks, and another interception. That receiver background shows up in how he moves in space and how comfortable he looks in coverage. Linebackers who can genuinely run and cover like that aren't just nice to have. They change what your defense can call. They let you disguise more. They let your pass rush hunt. But here comes the part that can split a fan base. Paying early versus waiting. Some of you are going to say, extend him now. Don't let him sniff free agency. Others are going to say, hold on, don't get emotional, let it play out. And I get both sides. Because every time you commit money, you're making choices elsewhere. You're shaping the cap. You're picking what this roster will be. And speaking of the cap, while the defense is trying to define priorities, the offense has its own brutal reality staring it in the face. There's a line between patience and stubbornness. And it feels like the Chargers are right at that line with the offensive line. Because it's one thing to develop and take swings. It's another thing to watch your franchise quarterback play through a fractured hand while protection melts down in a playoff game. That changes how you think. That changes how you spend. That changes what you're willing to gamble on. As easy as it is to get caught up in the big-name dreams, people throwing around a Tyler Linderbaum type of idea, you've got to be realistic about the math. This roster has real priorities. Khalil Mack needs attention. Odafe Oweh needs attention. That alone can eat a big chunk of flexibility. There's also the Zion Johnson question. If they extend him, that's more cap space committed. And that's before you even talk about how badly the interior protection needs to be steadier, because the interior has to get better. The roster can't afford another upside swing at right guard. The Mekhi Becton bet is the example sitting right there. After a strong 2024 season with the Eagles, he earned a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Chargers. The idea was simple. Maybe he sustains that level outside of Philadelphia's ecosystem, even after being moved inside because tackle wasn't working. But it didn't hit the way they hoped. And when those bets don't hit, the cost isn't just money. It's third and long. It's drives dying. It's Herbert taking hits. It's the entire offense playing tight. So when a name like David Edwards comes up, it's not about hype. It's about stability. Edwards is an unrestricted free agent, and the pitch is basically, stop gambling. Get someone dependable. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl, but he's been an important part of Buffalo's run game for multiple seasons. According to Pro Football Focus, he graded as the 19th best overall protector among qualifying guards. He's also played right guard before, did it as a rookie with the Rams. And depending on what happens with Zion Johnson, you could be looking at openings on either side. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's not the star I wanted. And you're not wrong. He's not the flashy name. He's not the jersey seller. But he's the type of signing that can keep your offense on schedule. He's the type of guard who helps you survive those ugly downs. Third and long, backed up, crowd roaring, edge pressure screaming around the corner because the pocket doesn't collapse from the inside. That's the difference between a drive stalling and a drive ending in points. And the Bolt fam is going to argue about this, because some of you want the early round developmental swing. You want ceiling. You want to hit a home run in the draft. Others are tired of it. They want a veteran who can step in and immediately raise the floor. That debate isn't going anywhere. But just when you think this offseason is going to be all about protection and guards and cap math, there's talk being floated that swings the spotlight back to raw firepower. Let me say this. This is the part that makes people uncomfortable. Because everybody agrees Herbert needs protection. Everybody agrees the run game can't disappear when it matters. That's foundational. But what if the leap doesn't come from protection alone? What if it comes from fear? The kind of fear a defense feels when you line up and they know they're about to get punished in the middle of the field and down the boundary. A.J. Brown is the name being tossed around in mock trade ideas. Nothing is confirmed yet. This is the kind of scenario people float when they're playing the what-if game. But it's not hard to see why it grabs attention. Even in a season described as slightly limited, Brown still put up 1,003 yards, 78 catches, 7 touchdowns on 121 targets. That's production. That's a true contested catch threat who can also create chunk plays. And if you drop that into this offense, it changes how defenses treat everyone else. Think about that for a second. If Brown is out there, suddenly Ladd McConkey isn't seeing the same looks. Quentin Johnston isn't carrying the same pressure. The spacing changes. The leverage changes. The red zone changes. Herbert gets answers he doesn't always have right now. But here's the contradiction. The cost. The idea being floated in that mock trade setup is a swap involving a 2026 third and sixth round pick for Brown and a 2027 seventh round pick. And on paper, that sounds like, wait, that's it? That's where people start calling it a no-brainer. But there's baggage baked into it. Draft capital matters, especially when you're not fully stocked. The Chargers are missing their 5th and 7th round picks this year. If you swap a 6th for a future 7th, you're shrinking your flexibility in the later rounds where you find depth, special teams pieces, developmental guys. If you move a 3rd, you're staring at fewer selections in the upcoming draft. That's real. Then there's the money side. Brown carries a $23 million cap hit for 2026 in the scenario being discussed, and you'd have to consider whether restructuring is even an option to soften the hit. And beyond the financials, there's locker room chemistry to think about. The text flat out mentions concerns about his presence in the locker room. That's not a minor detail. That's the kind of thing that can either be managed or become a problem. And yet, the temptation is obvious. If the price is truly that low in terms of picks, and you believe the offense can be structured to maximize his strengths, you at least have to consider it. Because elite quarterback windows don't last forever, even when the quarterback is still in his prime. When you've got Herbert, you feel that pressure to push, to give him the tools, to stop wasting seasons where he's carrying too much. So let's talk Bolt Fam reality. This is the kind of move that splits you right down the middle. Half of you are going to say, do it. Give Herbert a real alpha weapon. The other half is going to say, don't mortgage the draft, build it the right way. And that argument is healthy, because it means the fan base is thinking about the roster like a real contender should. And while all of that noise is happening, guards, extensions, big-name fantasies, there's one move the Chargers already made that quietly tells you how they see themselves. Tear Tart re-signing didn't come with fireworks, but the contract details are the kind of thing roster builders love. 3 years, $30 million, $20 million guaranteed. And the cap hits are laid out. $6 million in 2026, $11.98 million in 2027, $12 million in 2028. That's a structure. That's planning. That's not just throwing money at a name. The deeper you look, the more it feels like a message. The Chargers believe in fit. They believe in getting the most out of guys who land in the right system. Tart is the proof of concept here. He came in on a one-year, $1 million deal in 2024, then a one-year, $4.5 million deal last offseason, and now he's locked in. The team didn't waste time making sure they didn't repeat a mistake like letting Poona Ford walk after a similar situation the year before. They chose continuity in the trenches, and there's more nuance in the details. The structure includes measured guaranteed payouts, plus $6 million in incentives. That matters because it's not just a blind commitment. It's a contract that rewards production and protects the team. If Tart keeps playing well, he earns more, and the defense benefits. If he doesn't, the Chargers aren't locked into paying every dollar of that headline number. There's an out after the 2027 season that can wipe out that $12 million cap hit in 2028, when he'd be 31. That's smart business. And it connects directly to everything else we just talked about. Because disciplined contracts in one area give you flexibility in another. Paying Henley early? That gets easier if you're not trapped by bad deals elsewhere. Fixing the interior offensive line? That's easier if you're not cleaning up cap messes. Even entertaining a star trade idea? That's the kind of conversation you can only have when your books aren't on fire. And yes, the defensive staff context matters here too. The text points out that Jesse Minter moved on to become head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And now the defense is coordinated by Chris O'Leary. If Tart keeps playing well in that transition, it's not just about Tart, it's about continuity through change. That's the kind of stability contenders have. So when you zoom all the way out, here's the connective tissue, the part I promised I'd pay off. The most insane thing about this whole offseason picture is that it's not random chaos. It's a series of pressure points all tied to one question. Are the Chargers choosing patience with a plan, or are they about to push the chips in? Because you've got Henley, a young defensive cornerstone, walking into a contract crossroads. You've got the offensive line screaming for stability, not another maybe it works swing. You've got talk being floated about a high-end offensive weapon that could tilt how defenses play you, but would cost picks, cap room, and chemistry risk. And you've got a front office showing, through a deal like Tart's, that they're thinking about structure and flexibility, not just headlines. Now I want you to tell me where you land, Bolt fam. If you're Joe Ortiz, do you pay Henley early and lock in that core? Do you prioritize a dependable veteran like David Edwards to stabilize the interior right now? Or do you swing bigger? Do you take the risk on a move like A.J. Brown if the price is really that low? Drop your answer in the comments and defend it, because I guarantee somebody's going to disagree with you. And if you want more Chargers coverage like this, hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. The season doesn't start in September. It starts with decisions like these.